Hi. So week 9 of Boys and Girls Club observations. This week was talking about handicapped students with disabilities, and how they interact with each other, and how a lot of the legislation passed around them isn't really being too supported. A lot of the legislation being passed is saying that if you get funding from the federal government, you need to make your facilities more accessible to persons with disabilities. Um, as far as what I noticed in school, a topic that came up during class was accessibility of buildings. You know, how easy are these things to get around if you have a disability? And for the most part, the entire building's on one level, and there's ramps outside the building to get in and out. There are the handicap door mechanisms where you press the button and it opens up. Those are there, but those are only on the outside and inside, basically out indoors. As far as inside the actual school building itself, there are no other handicapped accessible doorways, so a person with a disability would have to have help from another person to get in and out of even just a simple classroom. As far as students acknowledging people with disabilities, a lot of the staff members and a lot of the students I asked said they don't really notice it unless it's something physical. So unless a child is in a wheelchair or is on crutches or something of that nature, they don't really recognize that there's a disability. And so in their minds, they really don't see emotional issues or mental disabilities as disabilities. They just, or at least they don't acknowledge them as such. They seem to think of them as like almost a separate entity. As far as how the staff treats the students, they treat them basically all the same. If they have, there's not there, to my knowledge, and I only go there about once a week. I see no students. I have not seen any students with a physical disability. That would be students in wheelchairs or on crutches, like I said. I have noticed there are students with learning disabilities. And to a point where the staff treats them all the same is good. That student won't feel excluded, won't feel like they're an outsider, or that they're going to be treated differently just because of their disability. On the other hand, when you treat them all the same, that's almost as if you're not acknowledging that they have a disability and that they need help. So it's a double-edged sword to try to treat them all the same. And with talking with the Boys and Girls Club staff member that I work with most of the time when I'm there, I asked the staff member, how equipped do you feel to deal with with students with disabilities? She said that she feels ill-equipped. That yes, she has received training, but there's a student that has to do certain things. This student has to sit in like a rocking chair and be physically active when even trying to complete homework. And she says, I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have ever done that had her supervisor told her you need to do this, or had someone else like learn this knowledge and then pass it on to her. So a lot of them don't know how to deal with students that have like emotional disabilities. Really, their whole solution to it is basically pass it up to a higher chain. So if they don't know how to deal with it, they pass it up to Miss Charlotte. If Miss Charlotte doesn't know how to deal with it, then I'm sure she would pass it along much higher. So and that's an issue because your staff members aren't as trained as they need to be. So these students, even though this is not an academic environment, there are things that go on that are to encourage learning, and you're not the best trained to really help all these students reach their full potential. So that is what I noticed this week at Boys and Girls Club.